Brother Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Please unmute your mic and share as you please, sir.
Yes, indeed. Peace and Pan-Africanism to you, good brother, and to all the brothers and sisters who are here on the Repatriation Conference. I want to commend you for doing this, number one. I don't think we have enough of these. I don't think there's enough opportunities for brothers and sisters across the diaspora to come together and talk about such an important topic as repatriation. Ironically, when we look at the history of Pan-Africanism, repatriation was probably the first or second most important tenet of Pan-Africanism. When we look at Edward Wilmot Blyden, when we look at Alexander Crummell, when we look at Bishop Henry McNeill Turner, when we look at Major Dr. Martin Robinson Delaney, when we look at John Brown Russwurm, all of them were repatriationists. And their Pan-Africanism, early Pan-Africanism, was never devoid of a commitment to repatriation. It's not until more recently, I would say post the death of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, do we see Pan-Africanism losing or turning away from its original commitment to repatriation. So I want to commend all the brothers and sisters who have made that leap, who have made that transition, and who have relocated to Africa part-time, or more importantly, the full-timers. Now, I understand we got brothers and sisters on the line who've repatriated from Ghana, from the Gambia, to Ghana, to the Gambia, to Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Zambia, and other places. First and foremost, I want to say this. As you guys know, my mission is to build schools. We have the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy in Wilmington, Delaware, 20 miles from the Philadelphia International Airport. I plan to put FDMG academies throughout Africa. And for you brothers and sisters who are already there on the ground in Africa, I would like to establish communication with each and every one of you in your respective countries on the continent. I would like to visit. I would like to visit Rwanda. I would like to visit Sierra Leone. Under your guidance, to tour and see, to inspect and investigate as to whether or not that particular city or country would be ideal as one of the first locations for the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy in Africa. In addition to that, I think that, as the Queen Mother just said earlier before me, I think that there needs to be organization in Africa, on the continent, amongst those of you who have already repatriated. There should be a regular conference. This can be done in each country. It could also be done on the continental level, where the conference may travel. Maybe one year, Tanzania will host the repatriation conference. Next year, Rwanda may host the repatriation conference. The following year, Sierra Leone may host the repatriation conference. And on my end in particular, I would love to get behind something like that with regard to advertising it, promoting it, pushing it, but more importantly, bringing brothers and sisters from the Western Hemisphere and the Caribbean back to Africa to participate in a repatriation conference. We need a space and a time where brothers and sisters outside of the continent can come back home to Africa and learn from all the brothers and sisters who are in Africa as it relates to how to repatriate. And we need to understand something. One of the most important reasons why we have to do this is because Africa has been suffering a brain drain for the past 100 years. We talk about the human drain of slavery. We talk about the resource drain regarding the mineral riches under the ground in Africa. But I don't think enough attention is paid to the intellectual brain drain of the African continent. So many of our best minds in Africa are often enticed away from Africa to come to the UK, come to France, come to America, come to Canada, and have their intellectual genius exploited by Europeans in the interests of global white supremacy. We have to have a reversal of that African intellectual brain drain. And those of us who are in the West, you know, to include our brothers and sisters in Europe, Canada, Central South America, the Caribbean, we have to be motivated and we have to be courageous enough to return to African soil and use our education and use our resources for the upliftment of the African continent. When we go back to the founding fathers of Pan-Africanism, they preached, they believed very ardently in the principle that one of the best ways to weaken white supremacy was to build up Africa. And I completely believe in that as well. I totally and completely believe in that. I will be in Johannesburg next Monday in Primville, suburb of Johannesburg. I'll be at the Grace Bible Church for International Africa Week. And then on Tuesday, I will be at the University of Johannesburg Soweto campus again as part of International Africa Week. And I'll be in Ethiopia for African Liberation Day, May 25th, May 26th at the African Union headquarters. And I'm saying that so if there are brothers and sisters who have repatriated in South Africa, I would like to meet you. I've been to South Africa many times. I've been to Ethiopia many times as well, to include places as Liberia, Ghana, Malawi, Lesotho, Kenya, Morocco. I've been to Nigeria, a lot of Senegal, a lot of different places, but connecting with brothers and sisters who are on the ground, who have migrated there from the diaspora is something I haven't been able to do a lot of. And I want to do more of it because I regularly hear from brothers and sisters in the Western Hemisphere who want to relocate to Africa. I regularly get text messages and emails, Dr. Umar, I'm ready to relocate to Africa. My wife and I, my husband and I, my children and I, who can you connect me with on the continent to help me make that transition? And so now that I see we have brothers and sisters over there who we can reach out and touch, it does my heart well because there's so many on this side who are ready to join you over there in Africa. They just simply need a little guidance. So I'm asking for those brothers and sisters on the continent who are living there full time, please send me a WhatsApp message. Please send me a WhatsApp message so I can have your contact. And going forward, I would like to set up some group trips for American Africans, Caribbean Africans, and others in the West who want to come and visit the country and community where you live. So for Zambia, I want to bring them and spend a week. You know, Sierra Leone, I want to bring them and spend a week. Uganda, I want to bring them and spend a week. And if you guys have the capacity to put together your own tour or travel package, then that's just all the better for what it is we need to do. So I am a vessel for you guys over there. I'm an information highway. My prominence on social media and within the Black consciousness community needs to be used to intensify and to support the repatriation efforts of brothers and sisters who are there on the ground. And I'm really, really hoping that there would be some sort of conference call by the brothers and sisters who are in Africa full time, so we can get on a Zoom or some other platform and talk about a repatriation conference. I think next summer, if not before then, who knows, maybe even this summer or fall before the new year comes. But we need to start having a regular repatriation conference on the soil in Africa. The diaspora needs this. The diaspora desperately needs this. I also think an adopt a family program would be good as part of the repatriation community in Africa, because it needs to be organized. It needs to be organized, not that it isn't already. I'm sure all of you are networking with one another, but now we need a website or we need some information where I can tie people directly into the various countries where we have brothers and sisters living. And I think adopt a family would be huge, where just a family comes, a husband and a wife, maybe the child, and spend a couple days with one of you there, one of our African brothers and sisters who have successfully repatriated to the continent. Let them come and spend a few days with you. There's no better way to get African people interested in returning to the continent than to adopt them in your home or in your community for a couple of days, show them around. Because one of the weaknesses of the cultural tours to Africa, and I've led many and I've been on many, but one of the weaknesses of the cultural tours to Africa is it focuses almost exclusively on culture, history, and leisure. culture, history, and leisure. Many of the tours don't really involve a serious investigation into repatriation opportunity. Many of those tours don't offer a serious investigation into the various industries in the respective countries that are in need. So, for example, we know that every African country can benefit from independent educational systems for children. We know that. But in places like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, we already have some of those models. But there may be other countries, say a Rwanda, a Botswana, an Eswatini, who don't necessarily have educational institutions for the children in math. So one of the things people are craving is some sort of a guide or process that introduces them to the unique needs that each country has. So for example, every African country has agriculture, but guess what? Some African countries can benefit more from some of the more modern agricultural techniques that brothers and sisters are learning here in the States. So which countries can benefit from that more? Who can benefit from hydroponics more? Even logistics, the transportation of goods across country lines. That's a big business in Africa. I've been reading lately on some of the reports that logistics is one of the biggest needs on African soil. We need truckers in Africa. We need truckers. Well, which countries are the most in need of logistics? And I would also argue this. We know that the Chinese are quickly becoming the neo-colonialists of the continent. They're doing this, of course, with the help of some, but not all, self-serving African leaders. Well, one of the reasons that it has been so easy for the Chinese to make inroads is because whenever there is a need for something, the Chinese are readily making themselves available as a solution to those needs. And one of the needs that the Chinese are quickly filling across the continent is the need for trucking, the need for logistics. The Chinese are trying to monopolize logistics, and that's not a good thing because they're trying to create a situation where you can only conduct trade in terms of transport trade, that is, getting your merchandise from one African country to the other. They're trying to make it so you have to go through them in order to get your merchandise out. That is nothing but slavery. We can't allow that to happen. And so we really have to break down the countries in Africa and label them, organize them, categorize them based on need. In other words, if you want to be a nurse and open up your own clinic, of course you can do that in every country. But guess what? These are the 5 to 10 countries that can really use nursing right here. You are a builder. You want to come and create institutional infrastructure. Every country can use that, but these 5 or 10 countries right here are the most in need. You're a medical doctor and you want to open up your practice. Every country can use you, but these countries are the most in need. You deliver babies. You are a midwife, okay? You are a doula. You are a doctor that delivers. Well, guess what? These African countries have the highest infant mortality rate. This is where you're most needed. I'm a psychologist, right? So which countries will be most in need of building nationwide psychological service and therapeutic systems? We have to get serious about repatriation and we have to organize the effort. And I think we have enough brothers and sisters on the soil now who have been there for quite some time to really spearhead this type of an initiative. We understand that a lot of brothers and sisters want to come back home for healing. A lot of us are ready to quit the West, right? Some of us can't quit as quickly like myself because I have to make sure I'm saving the children on this side of the Atlantic Ocean as well. So I plan on ultimately being part-time repatriationist, meaning I will have schools on the continent, schools throughout the diaspora, and I will visit each of them on a quarterly basis. But for brothers and sisters who are looking to return to Africa for spiritual purposes, which we certainly encourage that, we commend that, you still have to have a political economic component to your repatriation agenda. And I'm saying that because I don't want brothers and sisters showing up back home in Africa looking for work. You should have brought the economic opportunity for you. Don't go to Africa looking for anything. You should be coming to Africa to bring some opportunity. What business are you going to start? What initiative are you going to start? What type of community-based programs are you going to create? Do not become a dependency on the continent. All the brothers and sisters we've heard from today, they brought opportunity to Africa. The sister we just heard from, she's in business. She is contributing to the economic growth of Rwanda. We have to have that entrepreneurial mindset. We have to have a mindset of independence so that when African leadership looks at the repatriation movement, they will welcome it because the repatriates who are coming back are a blessing and a benefit to the community. We do not want to go back to Africa and be a hindrance to the community. We have to be a blessing. So that's a very important point. Another point, you got to have a plan. Yes, I know people who just packed up and moved to Africa and they are doing quite well. But when I go on YouTube, I also see some reactionary brothers and sisters posting videos about why you don't want to move to Africa. And for the life of me, if you had a bad experience, why would you want to bias someone else with your negative experience before they had a chance to experience on their own? When people go on vacation somewhere, not everybody enjoys Las Vegas. Not everybody enjoys Los Angeles. Not everybody enjoys New York City. Some people have bad experiences. Most people have a great experience. So if somebody is interested in going back home to Africa, why would you create a video that tries to distract them about reconnecting with their ancestral roots? That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you want to do a video that tells brothers and sisters to be cautious about this or prepare for this or make sure you understand this, if you want to do it in an educational way, that's fine. But to flat out tell brothers and sisters not to go home because your experience wasn't a good one, I think that is very, very, very sad. It is very sad. One thing the sister said that really stuck out to me is she said that the African governments need to have a representative for the repatriation community. That is powerful. That is something that I have recommended in the past. It's something that I'm going to speak on when I get to the African Union next Thursday for African Liberation Day, because it's one thing to tell us you are welcome home. It's something entirely different to hold our hands a little bit when we come home and make sure the transition is as smooth as possible. We know that in Ethiopia, for example, His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, he bequeathed land to the African diasporan community in the area of Shashamani. And from what I understand, up until now, we really haven't made a lot of use of it. We do have expatriates in Shashamani, but still, there's so much room for a lot more development there in Ethiopia. I know for me, when I look at the communities that I want to come to in Africa, and of course, I wish I could go to all of them. I wish I could divide myself up 54, 55 times and go everywhere, but we're not on this earth long enough to do that. And there's not enough time in the year to do that. So I'm really looking at countries who have the greatest need. We know that Ethiopia, the cradle of civilization, is one of the poorest nations in the world. And so for me, when I talk about education, and for those who are interested in farming and nursing and healthcare, I know for a fact that many of our East African countries could benefit a lot from that, although they all could, but I'm really looking at Ethiopia also because of the child sex trafficking market. Ethiopia and Haiti are two of the most highly trafficked countries when it comes to foreign adoption. Many of these white entertainers are adopting Ethiopian children and Haitian children. And they're not doing it because they love African babies. If you want a black baby, you can get one right here in America. You don't have to go to Africa to get a black baby or go to Haiti to get an African child. They do it, brothers and sisters. They do it because places like Haiti and Ethiopia that are still developing, they don't really have the infrastructure to track the adoptions that are made to foreign adoptive parents. So if you want to sexually traffic an Ethiopian child, if you want to sexually traffic a Haitian child and do so under the disguise of international adoption, it's very easy to do it because those countries don't have the infrastructure to keep up with you and to find out what you're doing with their children over the long run. Not to get off topic, I want to jump back on, and I'm going to be quiet in a few minutes just to see if there's any questions and answers. But I do want to remind brothers and sisters that today is the anniversary of the MOVE bombing that took place here in Philadelphia back in the 1980s, when Wilson Good, a black mayor, first black mayor of Philadelphia, along with a racist police chief, Frank Rizzo, an Italian, they dropped the bomb on our MOVE community here. And I believe they killed at least 9 Africans, including children there. And the only 2 survivors was our good sister, Ramona Africa, who's still with us. And of course, Birdie Africa, who was a child at the time, who I think may now be an ancestor. So just keep the MOVE family in your heart. Ramona will be doing a live later on the MOVE situation. So if anybody wants that flyer, please message me on WhatsApp for that or text me for it. And also today, the wife of General Dedan Kimathi, who is the leader of the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army, the so-called Mau Mau Army, his wife passed away on May the 4th at the ripe young age of 96. And she was laid to rest today in Kenya on this very day. I got word from brothers and sisters there that she was laid to rest. And this is the wife who I would argue of probably one of the most revolutionary African generals we have ever seen, in Dedan Kimathi, who was hanged by the British on February the 17th, 1857, buried in an unmarked grave. And we still don't know where General Dedan Kimathi is buried. But we want to send condolences and heartfelt love, sympathies, and support to the family of Dedan Kimathi and of his wife, who is now with the ancestors. Last couple points I want to make. We need a point of contact for repatriates for each country. I would like, as I said earlier, I want all of you, every one of you, if you don't mind, if you are living full-time on the continent and you repatriated there from the diaspora, whether you came from the Caribbean, the UK, the States, Canada, South America, it doesn't matter. If you're living there full-time, I would greatly appreciate it if you sent me a message on WhatsApp. And I would also ask that you let me know if it's okay to share your contact information with brothers and sisters who are interested in repatriating. Because one of the things I'm going to do subsequent to this, Brother Kareem, is I'm going to have a live on repatriation to motivate and inspire brothers and sisters to get involved in the repatriation movement. And I want to share Brother Kareem's contact and everyone else's contact. Okay, so if they're interested in going to Tanzania, they have somebody they can set up a visit with. They're interested in going to Zambia, they're interested in going to Rwanda, they can link with the Queen Mother who spoke earlier. We got other brothers and sisters from the UK and the US over there. Please get in contact with me. And my WhatsApp number, which is the same as my direct cell number for brothers and sisters who are here in the States, it's area code 215-989-9858. That is 215-989-9858. Make sure you put a +1 in front of that for my international Africans. Make sure you put a +1, 215-989-9858. But I'm looking forward to a repatriation conference on African soil. I'm looking forward to being there. I'm looking forward to bringing brothers and sisters with me. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation with all the brothers and sisters who have now repatriated to the mother continent, so I can have a conversation with them, so I can properly introduce brothers and sisters as it relates to the right place to go. And so I can also make some decisions for myself as it relates to building more schools on the African continent, more FDMG academies. And I will leave it there. Black Power.